let's talk relationships. Now, we can only go off of what we see. That's the biggest disclaimer. And that informs what we believe we know. But based off of what we see, there is a lot of relationship melee going on. And I have my opinions on it, what I like, what I don't like, what I have experienced in relation, and what I can just learn through observations so that I don't fall into these same patterns. At least I'm not going to intentionally put myself in those things. So let's talk about it.
About to voice it with Tune in.
Welcome to Voice It with Fran Lavoie, and I'm your host, Fran Lavoie. And I just want to get to the chase because I have a couple of people that I want to talk about that I've seen, and I've just seen relationship breakdown, some that I saw coming, others that threw me for a loop, and, some that were predictable, but I just didn't see it happening that way. So I just want to get into what Mendeecees said on the radio with Young Jock on his radio show. And it's just him confirming what I already knew, what a lot of people knew, that they weren't married and that they just broke up and they've been split up for over a year. So let's hear what he has to say here.
What's the status of you and Yandy right now?
Are we not together?
Y'all not together. So y'all getting a divorce?
Well, we never was like legally married, so I don't know what a divorce be like.
So the rumors are true that y'all just did it for TV.
Listen, I didn't do it for TV. I think listen, it was Yandy's idea, right? Because in the beginning we had I was going through legal battles with courts and fines, and she said, "Let's not sign the papers," and I was like, "All right, cool," and then I guess, it kind of just stayed that way. Then we got married again, and then we still ain't.
Yeah, because I was at one, though.
Yeah, you was at.
I was there, and I had a good time.
Let me tell you something. I was shocked.
Beautiful.
It was beautiful. That was about it. Yes, I remember the special.
Yeah, listen. But you gotta think about it, right? If I look back now, I see what people going through divorce with assets and stuff like that.
You escaped. I'm going through.
We don't gotta go through none of that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
you won.
It kind of worked out.
How long have y'all been split? And how was the split? What was the coping?
So I've known Yandy for 20 years, right? So right now we've been probably split up for over a year. 20 years, you don't. It's like that person helped change you who you are today. Yeah. You grew up. I'm mature. There's so many ways messing with Yandy. I wouldn't be the man who I am today if it wasn't for her.
All right. So you just heard him say that, and Yandy came out and shared, some posts on her story. Shout out to the Jasmine brand. And they captured this where she said, she reposted something that said, now I finally understand the difference between people who love me, people who love to be around me, and people who love what I can do for them. Then she posted another one that said, you're quieter now. I heard my business from people that I didn't tell. So listen, child, the streets is talking. Yandy put, are you done talking? Tell me, baby, are you done? I guess that's a song. And, she started to like certain comments that people were saying, talking about class was in session, but so many missed the lesson that was being taught, and she doesn't have to pay alimony or do anything like that because, Yandy is a good businesswoman. She has a long-standing history in the music industry, managing and, going on tour with Missy Elliott, having that affiliation with Mona Scott Young, which is why it was easy for her to transition into reality TV with Mona Scott Young on Love and Hip Hop. But, Tamar Braxton was in the mix because when she lost her teeth and was found in a pool of blood, and it was supposedly Funky Dineva's birthday, whom she was celebrating that same night. Funky Dineva claims that he went home and he ain't had nothing to do with that. But they got into it. If you want to understand that background, I have a video on my page that you can take a look at. But then, he told her to, leave him alone. Stop trying to bring his name into it, because Tamar basically was exposed for using Funky to, for publicity, to make noise for the reality show, as well as her Heartbreak Retrograde visual and album, in which Mendeecees is in that visual as her love interest. Now, Tamar denies that her and Mendeecees were ever a thing, but Funky, claims that he doesn't know what happened that night because Mendeecees was the one that was with her, and that he witnessed her allegedly, her and Mendeecees having inappropriate, touching and kissing in front of them. And he was never comfortable with it because, whether Yandy and Mendeecees were married or not, the perception was they were in a relationship. So you all up on this man, and he does say that, yeah, she, they not really together, this, that, and the third. And that was confirmed by Mendeecees. But it's also kind of like, okay, but what's going on? You just like drama. Just like what Toni Braxton said about her little sister, Tamar. She is more infamous than she is famous. And I guess that means that Tamar is known more for her drama than she is being a wonderful singer, which she is. So Tamar came out and basically had been denying it. But now that Mendeecees said this, she said, I'm accepting all apologies through my Cash App, the F. Please pay by the following. If you called me, number one, a liar, $10. Homewrecker, $20. HOE, $20. SLUT, $30. Accept the fact that y'all fell for the BS and run me the F up. And then she put her Cash App down there. And that's fine or whatever, but we not giving you a Cash App for that. And whoever did, God bless y'all. But listen to what Mendeecees said in this, in the rest of the interview.
About you in the streets, because it was like, dang, if she held him down.
So even if me and Yandy decide to break up, it's no one's business but our household.
Right.
Right? So if you see me acting inappropriate, it's appropriate for me. It's maybe not for you, because I'm sorry you wasn't in the group chat when we decided that. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm sorry you was in our bedroom when we had this conversation, and and that's the problem, because a lot of times these rumors, we so private that we sit back and we laugh at it. And it doesn't affect us like the way it affects the public. People be like, oh, y'all should be more transparent and let us know. Yeah, we gotta figure out how to let our children know.
Right,
That's
exactly.
Right. What's the status of you and Yandy right now?
Are we not together?
Yeah, so then that's when he goes into them not being together. And so that's the thing, right? I'm sorry about that. He had to address that. And basically he was like, look, if y'all see me out on the street nibbling and kissing up on Tamar, that's because, listen, it was appropriate for me because y'all don't need to know that we're together. Now, that's all great and good. And I do agree that people's business is their business. And yes, you have children. You need to figure that out and make sure that your children are abreast of the situation and all things are well with them as you guys move forward. The problem with that is this: when you want people to be in your business when it's beneficial to you, and then of course, like anybody else, now you want privacy when stuff hits the fan. I think that if they would have just admitted, hey, we're not together anymore. Because, in the clip, you heard him say it's been over a year. If they just would have admitted that from the jump, things would have been less melee. So this is a crazy situation. I just think that Yandy and Mendeecees should have just kept it real from the jump. No wedding special was needed. All that money for what? In my opinion, it was a beautiful wedding, but it was a wedding just for show. And for him to, tell the DJ, look, the DJ asked him straight up, was this for TV? He said, so y'all did do it for TV. And then DC's is like, nah. The guy kind of laughed like, yes, yeah, I did. Like, what you mean? But all in all, I don't think, I still believe a lot of what Funky Dineva is saying. I think that Tamar is just trying to save face. Her and that man was booed up and hugged up because they were booed up and hugged up. And Mendeecees just had to clear the air because I think that maybe Tamar asked him, or maybe he was just tired of the drama, so I just need to say it. Yandy was not ready for that man to say all that, okay? But it is what it is. Y'all tell me what y'all think about that situation down below. So I'm not going to go into full detail about Kandi and Todd, but I did want to bring up that with Kandi and Todd's relationship, they got divorced, or they're going through a divorce after 11 years. And the other day for Christmas and for New Year's, Todd posted them, all together, the two kids that they share together. And, they both bring two daughters from different relationships. Now, all I got to say is this. Now, with Kandi and Todd, obviously them being on reality TV and how they met, Candy's worth $30 million by herself. And she could take care of every mother bleeper up in this room, okay? How you doing, girl? Come on over here and help your girl out, right? But Todd was on production, and immediately when we talk about, hypergamy versus hypogamy, a lot of people deemed this a hypogamous relationship, meaning that Todd was making less and that he used Kandi for a come up. On the reality show, The Real Housewives of Atlanta, where they started dating and where they met, where Todd was working on production, there was a woman who I think was dating Christopher Williams, the singer, that basically said she knew Todd from back in the day. He broke her homegirl's heart and basically was like, he was always trying to come up. Now, whether that's true or not, it is perceived to be true because of how things are falling out. Kandi went on an Amazon Live and basically broke down the relationship and said, look, yes, we are going through it. She put up posts saying that she smiles. This is how it looks while she's going through. In each of those pictures, she was going through the worst time of her life, meaning that the relationship was in trouble for some time prior to the announcement. There's a lot of rumors. Kandi swings on both sides of the, pole, with men and women. And, there's rumors that, that she was dating another woman, that, he had a side piece. There's a whole bunch of stuff that is all alleged. Her latest admission was that her Christmas wish was to be divorced. They are keeping it cordial for the children. Now, here's my opinion on that. It's been a while since I've been before y'all. So my opinion is simply, I think that Kandi wanted to be married and she was marrying for love. I don't think that this man ever found her desirable or attractive enough to be his dream girl. And I remember seeing someone on social media post, make sure that the person that you're with, if it's, a man to a woman, make sure that you are that person's dream girl, in the sense that you want that man to want you, to pursue you, and to constantly be checking for you. Because when Mad Day comes, meaning, things start to hit the fan, you realize that this person never really wanted you that bad. Now, there's plenty of ways that Todd has professed his love for Kandi, but for me, it always felt like, especially throughout the show, that he wasn't really interested in her that deeply. Kandi is, a freak of leak 7 days a week, child. And I'm not saying that Todd isn't, but most men will go along for whatever is benefiting them. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, Todd was just lazy and wasn't doing anything. Todd had coin, but he didn't have Kandi Burruss coin. He had opportunity, but not the same opportunity that he does now that he is known as the husband of Kandi Burruss. So my issue is, a lot of people don't really know what's going on. I know that Mama Joyce did not make the situation easy. Kandi's family was just simply trying to protect her because she's worth a lot of money. But at the end of the day, this is their relationship. She loved him. I'm not going to say that he didn't love her, but it just feels to me like that he didn't like her as much. It kind of reminds me of the next couple, Claressa Shields and Papoose. Now, we know that Papoose is still married to Remy Ma. And, the latest thing that we see is that people are trying to say that, during the holidays, Papoose was over there with Remy and Lil Reminisce, and Claressa's, tussling with people, saying, no, he wasn't. He was with me. Showed us a very, very dry piece of chicken with some rice and some half-cooked spinach that she made for him, and he lied and said it tasted great. And, there's been several times where she's wanted to kiss him. He kind of brushes it off. It appears that he forcefully has to profess his interest, every time he's on on a television show, or an interview. But she is the person that talks the most about their relationship. It always feels like she has something to prove. Now, I did a video on Claressa Shields on this video on this channel as well. I just think that Claressa needs to just pipe down, allow these two people to divorce, get them situated, and I think that Claressa was better off just being a friend to Papoose and not going so hard in the paint for him. I think that when people are married and they're getting a divorce, even though the marriage may be irrevocably broken, there's still so much emotion. And until it's final, and even after it's final, until two people are over it, because contrary to what many people may think, I don't think that Papoose is over Remy Ma. I think he still loves her. I think that she was done before he was. And I just feel like Remy is moving different. I did think that there was clownery on everybody's end when all the messages and everything was revealed last year. When, I think they were going to roll out some negative press on Remy, and Remy beat them to it. And then, she went on live like about 6-7 months ago and was talking, and then he filed for divorce right after her live. It's just a lot, a lot of responding. I do see that Remy is moving, making great business moves. I'm happy for her. Papoose apparently is too, but Claressa is just in the mix, talking more than what she should, with a lot of confidence. She wants to have a baby with Pap. Maybe Papoose does not want to, profess his true feelings for Claressa Shields if he has like deep feelings, because we know Papoose for being Mr. Black Love. When him and Remy were in a great place, this man had a t-shirt and I think a hat with Remy Ma's face on it. Like, he was laying it on thick that he was in love with this woman. And just like the Mendeecees and Yandy situation, it was the reverse. Remy Ma went to jail for close to 7 years, and he held her down. Now, Remy came out and allegedly said that he was cheating. But the fact is that you could still see, smell, and sense the love with your eyes closed from Papoose and Remy. They appeared to be in love until the love was gone. Now, I still think that the love will always be there, but you get what I mean. Like, no type of like, we want to be in a relationship, at least not at this time. Do I think that they should fix it? I believe that if you're married and you want to fix it, I don't see why not. I think that unless it's completely unfixable, I just feel like there's always an opportunity. And I do hope that it works out. Shout out to DJ Envy, who said to Papoose during his interview, and Claressa was right there, man, I just wanted y'all to fix it. Even though he was talking about the friendship thing, when I tell you people's true feelings come out, we all wanted Remy and Pap to fix it. But what's done is done. Claressa, this is me telling you again, girl, now I ain't gonna fight you because I know you probably could beat me up. I'm not dumb. But I don't want you to get beat up emotionally and spiritually in this situation if things go awry. Now, if things work out between you and Pap and this man loving you and doing all that for real, then by all means. But I just don't like this situation at all. It's just my personal opinion. What do y'all think about Claressa Shields and Papoose? Do you think that this man really loved her like that? I don't know. For me, I don't know. Cardi B, Belcalis Almanzar Cephas, affectionately known as Cardi B, professionally known. I'm not going to get into this very deep either. I remember when she announced that she was having her fourth baby with Stefon Diggs. This is another situation of, my dear, you are married. And I'm not saying that Offset was great. But this situation with Stefon Diggs is not it for me. Because Stefon apparently fathered 2 or 3 more children with 2 or 3 different other women. I think all within the same time. And she went on record saying, yes, I'm having a baby with my boyfriend, Stefon Diggs. And it's like, baby, is that your boyfriend for real? And so he's going through a lot of legal issues. You know, I'm just, finding out today that this man done assaulted his stylist, wearing his jewelry. They saying that, he's swinging on tatum poles too. Then on top of that, he got these children, and then, having allegations against him assaulting his chef over non-payment. It's just a lot, right? Like I think that for publicity purposes, Cardi was pregnant, just had the baby with Stefon, and, she was coming out with an album. And for me personally, while I think that Cardi B is a hardworking woman, I've heard her speak on how she raises her children. I think she's a fantastic mother. I think just fantastic. I don't like this situation because I feel like she should have gotten a divorce. She should have taken her time with Stefon, get to know him. And yes, she's worth a lot of money. And yes, she can take care of her kids, all 4 of them by herself without a man. But like she said, she can't turn back time. What y'all want me to do? She kind of said something to that effect online the other day, especially after Christmas where he had to take time to make his rounds. I find a pattern with men in power like this. You have, dudes like Fetty Wap and NBA Youngboy. You see where I'm going with this. Of course, Nick Cannon over the recent years. All these people that have multiple children. I understand that men, they want to have a tribe. Men love kids. They want to have baby after baby after baby after baby. And it's a sense of legacy, but you're creating broken homes. Now, do I think Stefon cares for Cardi? I'm sure. But we don't know if they're going to get married or not. And if they do, great. If Cardi doesn't want to get married, then she don't want to get married. But I wouldn't have claimed that man as my boyfriend. I really hope that that's not the case anymore, because you're sharing him with a lot of different women, whether they're claiming him as a boyfriend or not. His attention is divided. On top of him having these legal issues, on top of him being in a high-profile career such as the NFL. And, for me, I just think in this situation, get to know that man. Once you realize, he got all these children, you didn't have to be part of the brigade. It's just, okay, I'm getting to know him. And bam. I just think that she felt like she needed to move on really fast, so that she would not dwell on Offset. But it's just sad because I think she deserves better than this. I think even Stefon deserves better than to put himself in the situation where he's splitting all his time. I just think that we need to be wiser about how we approach like maternity and paternity before things are solidified in a partnership, a marriage. I just wish that they would have solidified that a lot more. Like Kandi and Todd situation, they were married. Papoose and Remy, they were married. And to me, both those situations are unfortunate, but at least there was marriage involved. Now in Yandy and Mendeecees situation, we can say, well, they don't have to go through all the legal stuff, but they lied. And there's no integrity in that. It's just crazy. I just hope that, everything works out and that Cardi learns from this. I'm not going to say that the baby's a mistake. All her children are beautiful. I haven't seen much pictures of this new baby, but that blossom that she got, oh my goodness. All of the kids are beautiful. They're beautiful children. I just don't want Cardi to be in these situations any further. I think that she needs to understand her worth as a woman. I think Stefon Diggs needs to understand his worth as a man and not spread his seed everywhere. But I do notice this trend with men wanting to spread their seed everywhere. And I just think that both parties deserve better. An Offset child, I just think that he needs to do better. I'm over here seeing something about him being laid up with Selena Powell. And if you don't know, child, I find out about Selena Powell. But anyways, let's move on. Now on to Love and Marriage Huntsville with Maurice and Kimmy Scott. Now, Maurice and Kimmy Scott, got married on the show about, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago. They're an older couple. They both come into the marriage with children. There was some drama with Maurice's ex-wife, and he has a younger son that he affectionately calls Monster. And this situation, what y'all about to hear, sounds crazy. Now, they're the least problematic couple on the show. Not to say that they didn't have their issues, but one conversation that was centered was about sex in their relationship. Now, Kimmy just had a bout of cancer that I believe that she has beat. And at that time, she was trying to beat cancer. And there was video or comment that surfaced, particularly on the show, about him feeling like she's not giving it up to him every night and her trying to compensate and do what she got to do to keep him satisfied. And a lot of people wasn't feeling that because they felt like, okay, but she's going through cancer. I understand you have needs, but what are you talking about? So I don't know if it was a concern throughout their marriage, whether or not she was giving it up or not. but it just sounded crazy. So as I'm doing this story and as I'm doing these, all right, so I'm going to read to you what the headline says. It says, Love and Marriage Huntsville star Maurice Scott tells his wife, Kimmy, that her receiving more time and affection is not going to happen because they should be having sex multiple times a day. I heard growing up that women can lay down longer than men can stand up. So, child, honey, boo, let's hear what this thing got to say. I can't.
In your mind, you really think that most women are able to just sexually perform several times a day, every day?
I heard coming up that I can lay down longer than you can stand up.
Oh, who told you that?
I mean, it's a saying I heard coming up.
Oh, dear.
What does the plan look like based on what you guys have shared today? Because Kimmy needs more time and connection and those things.
It's not gonna happen, Doc.
Why are you saying it's not going to happen?
That's the
Who
that's the
says
space. But that's the space. That's why we're here.
Is that what that's
But
what you're
that
feeling?
energy,
Like if we
when he says that,
That's
that's
why why.
frustrating to me.
But he said it
Because
for a reason.
it's a negative thought, and it doesn't perpetuate positivity in that space.
Lord. This man is basically saying in this clip, now you know how they like to doctor up these clips, that he is not going to give her any more affection because you're supposed to be laying it down longer than a man can even stand up. So a man needs to get sex from a woman multiple times a day. Never mind that she might be tired. Never mind that she might be ill. Never mind that she might be going through some things. Never mind that women typically need to... Women and men are different when it comes to sex. Women need to be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stimulated in order to want to get there more oftentimes than not. Some women, don't need all that. Some women need parts of that. I don't know if there's a women that don't need it at all. But men they don't need as much as women do. So it has to be reciprocated in different ways, in the sense that I give you, woman, what you need, and women have to give a man what they need. I agree. But considering what I just said that Kimmy was going through, this woman was going through cancer. This woman had been going through different, health challenges. On top of that, she's a real estate developer. At one point, she was a registered nurse. In the midst of all of that, I don't know if she still is. They filming this reality show. Maurice has not been innocent on this show. There's a lot of allegations, and I be giving him the side eye when it comes to how he moves in life, because he always tries to come off like, because he always tries to come off like the more diplomatic, the more voice of reason one, but I see through that. And Kimmy, a lot of people tend to like because she's like the more mature one, even though she be in some mess too. But it's just, for me, the fact that he heard this growing up, they're baby boomers and they come from that. And I'm sorry, they're not baby boomers. They're Gen Xers. I apologize. They were probably raised by baby boomers. And there's a whole lot of issues with that generation, stereotypically, because psychologically, a lot of boomers and a lot of early Gen Xers, they didn't have as many options for compatibility and relationships. And so that kind of trails into what they deal with now, what they feel like they have to deal with. And so men are conditioned from back in that day to feel like women need to operate like this, which is why he probably heard something like that and felt like, well, that's my mentality when it comes to love and affection. So you're not going to give her what she needs, but she has to automatically be booted up and ready to go to give you what you need. It doesn't work like that. If she's not getting her needs met, then she's not going to adequately give you what you need. and probably not be motivated to do it either. So I don't understand where his logic comes from. Listen, this show has so much, we know about the Melody and Martell situation. We see now we're seeing Maurice and Kimmy go through it. Lord, I'm forgetting them people name on the Maurice brother child, Marceau and Tisha, Lord, we already know. And then there's other marriages on that show that have their troubles and woes. But while it's for entertainment, I really, really, really do hope, because there's a lot of reality in it, which is why it's reality TV. I really hope that when they watch these episodes back, they realize how crazy they sound and they work it out, because this that we just saw is not it. We need to reciprocate love. We need to give each other space and understanding. And men, if this is how a lot of men think, they need to control their loins. And women, if you know that you could be doing better in the bedroom and you could be more available in that way, then by all means do it. But it takes time, space, and it takes a lot of understanding and patience to get on the same page. That's why marriage ain't for the weak, child. Y'all gotta make sure y'all know what y'all doing. But that's all I wanted to talk about. Now, I broke down these relationships. What I've learned and what I'm learning is that, the Bible speaks about not awaking love before it's time. That's in, I believe, in Songs of Solomon. Y'all could correct me if I'm wrong. But I just feel like awaking love before it's time simply just means that both people need to make sure that when they are entering into this, that they really want to do this and that they're committed for the long haul. And sometimes we don't know what that looks in the beginning, when years into it or maybe months into it, wherever, how long into it, there are challenges that you didn't foresee happening. But my hope is that when two people decide to get married, when two people decide to get into a relationship, that whatever differences that they have, I pray that they're honest about it and that they are sacrificing, not necessarily sacrificing themselves, but saying, hey, look, I may not want to do this, so I don't have to necessarily agree to things that go against my morals. But you know what? I'm going to compromise a little bit because I love this person. And compromise might not be the best word, but it has to be an equal partnership where, you're not going to always get what you want. You're not going to always do what you want, but the love is there and you're laying your love and your life down for a person, and vice versa, without jeopardizing your integrity. So maybe compromise wasn't the right word. Maybe sacrifice wasn't either. But something's got to give where we're working together as a partnership and as a love. And when you love somebody, you're patient with them. You're kind. You follow the fruits of the Spirit. And it's easier said than done, I know. But man. And then on top of that, just being honest, I think that honesty and understanding and taking your time, like I said, to see, like, you know what, this person's cool, but I don't want to go further. And not being afraid to say that and not hurt the person's feelings. And even if you hurt them, it's better that you are honest than not. And not making a situation that does not have to be. Sometimes we create situations because of how we feel about a person that need not be. Like when I think about the Claressa and Papoose situation, they could like each other, but she could have just been like, you know what, he's going through something messy. Let me not, let me just move on, or I might like him, but I ain't finna be out here publicly expressing my love and being ready to knock people out for the sake of it. And with Yandy and Mendeecees, it's like, you know what? We got kids together, but that's about it. I don't really even need to be living with you and fooling with you like that. It's what it is. But I guess you live and you learn. And like I said earlier with marriages, you know, we have Kandi and Todd. We have Remy and Pap, you know, and now Maurice and Kimmy. It's just a matter of working out differences. Sometimes differences come up and there's no way out of them because people are stubborn. And there's some stuff that you don't see until you see them. And that's what makes marriage so difficult. So it's definitely not for the weak, and people should proceed with caution. But people should fight for their marriages if they can. And if they can't, then just have that on your Christmas wish list like Kandi did. So y'all drop that in the comments and let me know what y'all think. And I'll see you in the next one. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Fran LaVoie. Thank you so much for listening to this video and watching it. Now, if you like this one, there's plenty others where that came from. Be sure to check out my channel, like, comment, share, and subscribe.